Let's be honest, I'm exhausted because the last weeks were a lot. Both what's going on in the world and also in my personal life. It's just that sometimes, sometimes there's more going on, sometimes there's less going on, sometimes it's harder on us and sometimes it's easier. And I'm at a point where I realize that I'm watching videos instead of working, that I am not in the best mood sometimes, and I think we need to change something. So today I do want to talk about coping and its good sides and bad sides and how to kind of figure out for ourselves to find a healthy way to deal with stress and intentionally putting our health and well-being high up on the priority list. This is kind of turning into my new favorite recording spot for videos. I don't really know why and if it's gonna stay like this, but how do you like it? I did take some notes, so let's see. So I'm here for you now, not for this video. Let's continue. I think one important thing is that even when it comes to coping, as many other things, it has a lot to do not only with us personally, individualistically, but also with our society as a whole. And I think when it comes to be healthy mentally, mental health, productivity, being happy, being a good person, our society or capitalism did brainwash us quite a bit. When it comes to coping, what I mean by that is that I'm procrastinating. I'm watching videos instead of doing other things, even though watching videos sometimes has a bit to do with research, so I can tell myself that I'm technically still kind of working. But I'm feeling bad for not working, but I would feel even worse if I completely said, I'm not feeling good enough for working. So I'm kind of pretending I'm at my computer, I'm a click away from working, but I'm still wasting my time and I'm also not getting the rest. I'm also not coping well in a sense that I would actually feel better later. Actually, I did Google about coping and everything, and I found out that procrastination is one of the not so helpful coping mechanisms as I knew before. But procrastination oftentimes is not helpful in itself, but it is also not just something that we should avoid because it's telling us something. And it's telling me right now that I'm exhausted and I need to find a solution before I can just push through and work on. Because one, the product of my work, because it requires creativity and attention, is not going to be good. And two, it will lead to burnout over a longer period of time if I just push myself, even though I'm in this state right now. Back to our society. I think if we want to be the perfect, productive person, at least that's what I tell myself, knowing that it's stupid, is that I should, if I'm exhausted, find a way to regain my strength, creativity, and health and everything while still being productive. But there's one thing that's just so straightforward, that does make so much sense, and it still is so hard, and that's when we're exhausted, why don't we just rest? Why do I feel so bad for resting, for actually taking the time and intentionally not be productive? So I'm taking this video to push myself, to allow myself to rest. Does that sound counterintuitive? Working while resting, making a video, which is my work? I don't know, but that's what we're doing. I think rest is so important. And I think when we're exhausted, we deserve rest. And I know that we're not all the same when it comes to mental health and what we need and what we can endure, and that our personal lives and what we consume online, everything is different. So we might need a different way of resting, a different amount of rest. Someone says just push through, you can do it, but another person just can't. So here it's kind of the other way around. The pressure is definitely there from society, but how I feel and when I need rest is very much so an individual thing, but most of us don't have a way of getting the rest we need if we, for example, work 40 hours a week or more. Like, our employer doesn't care if we need rest or not. So I am using the privilege of being self-employed right now to allow myself to find a way to feel better in the next few days and to maybe just not get that much work done while I still have the deadline the day after tomorrow of getting this video up, and I'm going to do that. But I have a lot of freedom, you know that, and you see that, and I see that as well. It's not the same for everyone. I just do hope that you do have a little bit of time that you can have full control over. So maybe some of these things also apply to you. The thing I want to say here is, when it comes to coping, a lot of times we don't really pay that much attention, and we just realize at some point that we're wasting a lot of time, maybe procrastinating if you're similar to me, or also just being stuck in a situation that's not healthy. How do we get out of this? We need to find a way to manage the stress, to manage the exhaustion, and get some energy back somehow. And I think one of the things that I'm doing is just, without thinking, I'm procrastinating, and it's not helpful because it doesn't really give me energy. It drains me further. It's not a solution. And I think a first step is kind of getting the energy. I think that's hard sometimes as well, to take a certain amount of control over the situation. For me, that means shutting down my computer. I'm doing the stuff that I know works for me. Because I think there's two ways of coping that are really important. And one of them is reactive coping. Like, we're in a lot of stress and we do stuff that makes us feel better, that relieves that stress, that makes us being able to go on, survive, feel better with the stress we're put through. And then the other thing is actually, I think it's called proactive coping, which is that we, without even facing a very stressful situation, make sure we do stuff that makes us feel good. Make sure we have habits, for example, and I did make a video about that I'm going to link you up here, and I think that's really, really helpful when we then suddenly do have a stressful situation. By building these habits and by building maybe a list of things you know is good for you, it's way easier when you're facing a stressful situation to do these things instead of then having to come up with solutions to cope, or just using unhealthy coping mechanisms because you don't even have the energy to do something that you know is good for you. So here are a few things that really, really help me. Doing nothing. And that is harder than it sounds, and I've talked about it a lot, and it's really putting away all devices, everything, not consuming Netflix, not reading a book, even though that is a good idea as well a lot of times, but just doing nothing. Allowing my mind to rest, my thoughts to either lead me to where the actual problems are or just also rest. And that has done wonders for me, even sometimes doing it for 5 minutes. But I know a lot of people would not like this approach because their minds are too full of anxiety-inducing stuff. So what I love to do then, or what I also like to do, no matter, calm mind or not, is going outside. I think there's a lot of science behind moving our bodies that produces like happiness hormones and reduces stress. So going for a run or going for a walk really helps me. Just the part of moving my body, it makes me feel good because I know it's healthy, and it makes me feel good just in itself out of physical reasons. And then the other part of going outside, at least for me, and I'm very, very grateful that I have this possibility, is going into nature, because then that nature part, not even the moving my body part, but just the part of being in nature, also does really calm me down. And that kind of goes into a direction of forest bathing. I don't know if you have heard about this, but it's where you experience the forest very intentionally. So I realized there that instead of moving my body, running through the forest, walking through the forest, it does really help me to pause, to sit down, to listen, to smell, to look around, and just see the beauty around me, feel the beauty around me, and take a break. Again, it can be 5 minutes, and it can be so helpful already. These are all things that I can do for free on my own, very easy, But there's also one thing I want to mention that can be controversial, but also really helpful, and that's tidying and cleaning. So I don't really believe that everybody thinks that a clean house is a clean mind or something like that. But I still think that I work kind of this way. So having a tidy surrounding does help me a lot. Plus, the act of tidying is again kind of moving my body. It's a household chore that needs to get done. It makes me feel relieved because of the outcome. And then after that, I have like a tidy surrounding, which also helps me be calm and happy. So I think tidying does really work for me, but I think it can become obsessive for certain people and then therefore not be helpful. Another thing that I also think is really, really worth mentioning is talking to other people. And that again, depending on the other person you're talking to, can be helpful or not, depending on, you know, if they actually are genuinely happy for you, interested in you, and want the best for you, because then they're gonna help you overcome your stressful situation. But if you happen to pick the wrong person, they can make you feel even smaller and not deserving of rest and attention in a stressful situation. But I think community and having other people, having, you know, people that have your back, an apartment that has your back, your own body that has your back, a list of routines that you know are good for you. So yourself having your own back are a great preparation for stressful situation. And if you're already in a stressful situation, it's good to try these out, or maybe find your own things, remember things, moments that made you happy, that are easy to access, that don't require a lot of effort right now, and go spend some time doing these things. I hope this is helping me feel a bit more grounded and rested during the next few days, because it's not going to happen in an hour. And I hope it can maybe be helpful for you as well. And to be even more helpful for everyone, please let us know down below in the comments your favorite things to do that are easy to access but make you feel better soon after doing them, while doing them. Thank you so much for watching. And I do want to link you a video here that I hope you'll check out. And I also want to say thank you so much for all of you who are supporting me on Patreon, for all of you who are supporting me with super thanks or have just watched this video until the end. It really means a lot. Thank you so much for being here. And now, I hope to see you there or in my next video. Have a good week. Goodbye.